Hello and welcome to the Game Week 2 episode of Net That Haul. I'm FPL Nima and I'm joined obviously with my co-host FPL Mariner, and FPL Lens is on his way. The big debate this week is about captaincy, I think. So the Haaland versus Salah debate. And also we're going to discuss some of our learnings from Game Week 1 and whether it's kind of too early maybe to make any rash decisions off the back of one game week of data. But yeah, morning to you, Chris. Good to see you again.
Yes, rash decisions. Who made a transfer at about 6 o'clock, about 3 o'clock on Monday morning? Me.
I think it's you. I think it's you and 700,000 other people. It looked like. But yeah, so today's episode, obviously, we're gonna have the matchups back as well. So once Gabriel's here, he's got a few previews of the matches for Game Week 2 from a matchup perspective with the kind of tactical lens on there. We're also gonna give a quick shout out to some of the new members who signed up since the preseason videos. So we've had, since the last episode, we've had Tom Gorsuk, FPL Casuals, Davindra Raj, Lindsay O, and FPL DG Boy 88. So we're up to about 30 YouTube members now. So thank you guys. Big love for the support. Main thing I want to say is obviously you get access to the private Discord server with this. And I think we only have 20 of the 30 members in there. So do contact me on Twitter, DM me on FPL Nima if you're struggling to get into Discord, and I'll explain how you can connect it. When we take the questions later, I'll show you on the screen share what it looks like in the Discord and a little bit of a preview of some of the data that Mariner shares in advance of the episode. So things like the captaincy metric, the FDRs, and the zonals. But other than that, I think obviously if you enjoyed today's episode, if you do find it useful, please hit that like button at the end. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe. Thank you for getting us to the 2K subscribers. And you'll soon be hearing from me about the Football Content Awards again, because they will be opening for nomination. So we may be asking the haulers to support us to try and get into the finalist list again this year. For
we need another giant killing, just like Grimsby are going to get against Notts Forest in a couple of weeks in the Carabao Cup. We're back, baby. We're finally back in the League Cup. I'm so happy. Can I just say hello to a few people?
Give a few shout outs.
So, okay, so we've got Carlo Duarte, we've got FPL Penguin, morning. We've got Fire Tog, how you doing, mate? Akshay's here, Blue Danube Joe's here, William's here as well. Nima, can you just make him a moderator, please, in case we get our friend in again?
Yeah, I'll have a look at that.
One Live Soccer TV, Yanzi. Oh, well, there we go. You do explain. Oh, my goodness me. Eero Oikaran. Eero. Hi, mate. Sorry. You'll get used to my bloody pronunciation. It's awful. Ed Raven. Hi. Dom's here as well. 3:30 in Mumbai. Yes, it is 6:30, 6:11 in Singapore. It's pretty early as well. And I can see Gabe just off screen as well. He's on his way in as well. So I think it's mid-afternoon in Phoenix. So yeah, shall we crack on? Here he is, as if by magic. Gabe arrived.
Hey, sound, can we do like a little sound check? Because I'm just coming in off the street. The kids are good. They're set up with a snack. School was good. How's my sound?
You sound okay at the moment, but no doubt we'll tell you something different in a minute.
Well, good to be here. Hey, everyone.
So, shall we crack on? Nima, should we just go with the normal running order then, now he's here?
Yeah, now that he's here, we can go to the matchups first. Yeah, let's do that.
All right, I think philosophy, right? You know.
Yeah, start with philosophy. I'll go to the next one. I know that I'm still trying to figure out how to make William a moderator. I found out there's just, when I type in William, there's like hundreds of YouTube channels.
That's the
William.
problem I had as well when I tried it.
I've used the URL for his account, so you should now be a moderator, William. So please do time out or ban anyone you see fit. Just none of the hauler members, please.
Yeah, or me.
Definitely ban
you
Mariner.
You will say something offensive, that's for sure, man.
Have you said
at 5 a.m. cursing people in the chat?
Oh yeah, I've already been doing that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Come on then, Gabe. Let's hear this philosophy.
Okay, well, the FPL Lens philosophy of the week for Game Week 2 comes from a Maltese physician, psychologist, philosopher, inventor. He was actually a lead proponent of teaching thinking as an independent subject in school, which I wholeheartedly agree with. I think it was Socrates who said, this is a separate quote. Socrates said, "I cannot teach anybody anything. I can only make them think." So I respect this guy. His name is Edward de Bono. And his quote is, "Most of the mistakes in thinking are inadequacies of perception rather than mistakes of logic." So I think like what rang true for me in this one is there are a lot of different ways of playing the game, obviously, and different ideas bouncing around the community after having received this downpour of knowledge from game week 1. And we're all feeling quite grandiose with this knowledge, and that we can make these bold decisions. And we're all feeling this way, and we should be able to understand that other people are feeling this way, and they have their own logic. When a lot of, say, decisions other people make don't make sense to us, the logic makes sense. The logic can be argued in both ways. It's just a different perception that changes kind of the outcome. And the inadequacies in perception for me can come from too few data points. So a little bit of knowledge can be a dangerous thing, and it creates hubris in us, in my opinion. So remember, we still know very little compared to what we're about to know after next week and the week after that.
That's a great point. I'll tell you that. Let's give you a point of case here. Bournemouth. No big chances conceded. If you plug that into your data, it would throw out that Manchester City have one of the toughest defensives they've got to face. Based on 1 week's data.
Yeah.
Aston Villa weren't very good. I think that's the way I would probably come from there. I mean, look, yeah, most of the mistakes is thinking are inadequacies of perception rather than mistakes of logic. My logic last week was Harry Kane over Haaland.
You had no perception, like nobody had any perception to base their pick off of, right? So Kane versus Haaland was kind of an equal pick because we had no real data to go off of. Now after 1 week, actually, your perception has changed.
You could argue I did have data to go off. Kane's.
For Kane, yeah.
I disagree. I disagree. Nobody saw how Southampton was going to come out. Nobody saw what Hasenhüttl was going to do. Nobody expected Djenepo to play up against Kulusevski and Djenepo and Salisu just out there on an island, and we'll get to that when we talk about Southampton up against Kulusevski. Are you kidding me? FPL Teacher actually did this great video on how Kulusevski has improved, and his development has been really, really tremendous, even just this summer. So I don't know.
It's good to hear you say that, Gabe.
I am shocked. I'm just going to fall off my chair here. Gabe is actually talking Spurs up. Anyway, enough of this.
Spurs loving.
Enough of this miracle and Spurs chat.
I'm completely reformed.
Right. Anyway, I suppose we better go into the matchups. And I think the key here, Gabe, given the fact we've got a relatively short period of time before this bloody deadline appears, thank God. I have to say, what a boring week.
It's dragged out, yeah.
If we aim at the assets as well, I think, so what we'll do, I think Nima and I will shout out the assets as we go as well. So we try and then, because I think we need to mesh the two together quite quickly. But yeah, let's crack on. It's
just before you go, I thought I'd show off my latest trophy that arrived. So this was the original one that you have, Mariner. But look how much bigger this one is.
Oh, you asshole. Look at my little one I got for Singapore. I was going to show you mine. Look at this. Oh, my one's bigger than your one.
You have a little trophy envy there, man.
A little one. Look, it's a little one. Trophy. So I've got a little trophy.
So I've got my name on it for last year, and previous winners include Ben Crellin and Will Thomas the year before. So I feel like I'm in good company here with managers who have way better ranks than I ever did. So I don't think I'll be holding on to that.
Probably 9 minutes 5 seconds when men are saying how little his is.
Yeah,
I know.
And probably they've probably got way better ranks than you this year as well. But anyway, that's another thing.
It's just a game week rank so far. That's why I don't have my OR on the screen and my username anymore. It's gone now. We start again, everyone.
FPL Mariner, 2.5 million.
It sounds great. All right, let's go on to the matchups then. Yeah, we'll let you get going, Gabe. We'll let you get the rocket started.
Okay, Aston Villa versus Everton, the first matchup of the week. I think really the only thing worth mentioning from this slide is that tombstone that says abandon all hope ye who enter here. And we can move on to the next slide. Basically, I don't think anybody wants to talk about Gerrard tactics versus Lampard tactics. It's mind-numbingly boring. We don't know if Bailey's going to start. If he does start, there's no width anyways. And nobody cares. Don't get.
So I think they can tweet you on the matchup thread that you released with these graphics earlier if they want to ask about these guys. But yeah, the only point to make is some people who have Andreas Pereira are now toying with the idea of starting him away at Wolves instead of starting one of Neto or Bailey. Maybe I wouldn't start him over Neto, but Bailey, if you get news before deadline that he is benched and they're playing a front two with Watkins and Ings, maybe that's a bit more appealing. But that could also be bollocks and Bailey could start. So, if you got him, maybe just play him as one last hurrah before you sell him and find an exit.
I'm starting Bailey for what it's worth.
Me too.
Cool.
Yeah. I intend to start Bailey. I think, and don't, I think we've got to be very careful that there's any knee-jerk moves at this moment in time. It's a 5 million asset, for goodness sake. Just chill, people. Just chill. Give him another week, as Nima says, and then feel free to sack him off.
Yeah, this sounds like a more exciting matchup considering people are probably doubled or tripled up here.
I think we can spend more time on this one for sure.
Yes.
So Arsenal versus Leicester. NetxG is Arsenal 1.58, Leicester 1.27. Somehow they both read home there, but actually Arsenal is at home, Leicester's away. So have to fix that in the metric. The stats are quite comparable. I think Arsenal have a slightly better chance than Leicester do of scoring 2 goals, and Leicester has a slightly better chance of scoring 1 goal. So I think and NetxG would favor Arsenal just a little bit. I think for me, what's impressive with Arsenal is the tactical awareness. So I thought they did start in that 4-3-3, and they would shift from the 4-3-3 to the 3-5-2, and it was really quite seamless. I don't buy the narrative that Saka is a wingback. I think Saka plays wingback, and I think Zinchenko can play wing, right? And Martinelli can play forward, and Martinelli can play on the wing on the left-hand side as well. So
I think it's very zonal, isn't it? So what I would say is what we know of Arsenal last year, I would throw it in the bin. There's no longer like positions anymore. Players operate in zones, and that's the kind of versatile players he's tried to bring in, right? Like Jesus wasn't in one position either, was he?
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's like the strength of Jesus, and that's the reason why I think Arsenal signed Jesus, is because he can move intelligently to different areas of the field, and he knows how to press differently in different areas as well. He knows how to press when he's a 9. He knows how to press when he's over on the wing, and how to combine the pressure with the midfielders behind him. So tactically, it's actually Arsenal is this team that has been kind of building for years, and we're finally seeing what Arteta's building. By contrast, right, Rodgers here, he can't. We can see by the pass map there, he can't make any penetrating passes. See how flat that pass map is. They tend to go wide, but they can't go through. They create better chances. They create a lot of small chances, as you can see on the image on the right, but they don't have really any big chances. Now, Leicester have been a team who have overperformed their stats, so even those small chances can add up. But I think then they have Rodgers, right, where he takes out, he just got completely outclassed and out-tacticked, and he's coming against Arteta, that's a tactical master at this point, with a team that's really understanding his tactics. I think this could be a blowout. I think this could be like a 4-1.
I'm not confident on the clean sheet. Yeah, I'm not confident on the clean sheet, but I think the pitch is much wider at the Emirates than it is at Selhurst Park, and Arsenal's style of football works a lot better when they have the space on the width of the pitch to be able to find each other. I think we saw that last year as well in the kind of the home and away stark contrast in performances. It's going to be our first home game of the season. I'm expecting great stuff against Leicester personally. I expect a few goals, that's for sure. It's just, I'm sure who they come from is a debate. This might be a good time to answer one of the questions that came in from Twitter. It was from Richard. Was it Richard? Let me just find Richard Pitt. He said, "Can Martinelli and Saka cover Jesus points so I can upgrade to Nunez?" It's an interesting take. people like, I guess you could have two Arsenal midfielders. I think there's a lot more that we're going to see from Saka yet. Just because Martinelli outscored him this week doesn't mean it will always be like that. But I would not be looking to make that move just yet, personally, especially not this week anyway, because it sounds like two moves. I would wait to see kind of how Nunes and Salah play together. Nunes looks exciting, don't get me wrong, but I'd be looking to maybe actually get him at the expense of Saka and keep both Martinelli and Jesus personally. But I don't know what your opinions are on that.
I mean, I've seen this idea of doubling up with two and try to cover one, and it's a tried and tested principle, isn't it, of FPL? So I can see why he's thinking it. I think the obvious thing is, if he's trying to move on to Nunes, like you say, is it two moves? Because he may already have 3 Liverpool assets. So if that's the case, he's got to take one out somewhere as well. So no, from my side,
sounds like 3 moves. Because,
maybe 3 moves. Yeah,
because he probably doesn't have both Saka and Martinelli yet either.
3 moves for a player that isn't,
unless he's going
started.
Diaz. Unless is he shifted? He wouldn't be doing that.
Well, it could be Diaz to Saka, Jesus to Nunes, something like that. But then if there's money in the bank, maybe.
I mean, look, from my side, I just think that it's too... if you've started with somebody at this moment in time, somebody like Jesus, with his ownership as well, he's nailed on minutes. Nunes was great, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't go yet. That's my gut feeling. So
I think if you were wildcarding in game week 3, like if you were set on it and you felt like your team needed it, maybe then that's an exciting opportunity to get ahead of the pack and have a front 3. But I'd still be trying to shoehorn Jesus in. I think he performed phenomenally in that last game. It didn't materialize into points, but that was our toughest game in the first 6, I'd say maybe first 8, apart from United. So I'm expecting good things now. We've got 2 promoted teams straight after this. I'd be kind of considering that I'll put my neck on the line between this game against Leicester and then the 2 promoted teams in these 3 game weeks. I would expect Jesus to be getting like at least 3 goals and an assist.
17 minutes and 10. Get that, Gabe. Right, we'll have that.
Got it. What I will say is, Jesus will outscore Darwin Nunes in those fixtures.
He's your new Mr. Hatred anyway, so we've got to be a bit careful here.
Not at all. I like the guy. I think he brings Liverpool a different element, but I think it's madness that people are taking hits to bring in a player that hasn't even started.
Should I read out your quote that was commented by our Haaland FPL Craig on last week's video 7 days ago? It's a direct quotation. Alvarez is better than Darwin Nunes. And then he said, I love it, Gabe.
I do love it. I do like Alvarez better than Nunes. But again, they're also very different players, extremely different players. And what Alvarez will bring to City, like Nunes brings something totally different to Liverpool.
We're only pulling your leg. Let's keep going.
Next matchup, Brighton-Newcastle. And I do want to spend some time on Brighton-Newcastle because I think this is like just tactically, these are 2 really interesting teams. So what I like about these 2 passing networks, we have Brighton on the left and Newcastle on the right here, is that each one is against really poor opposition. Brighton played an abject Manchester United team, and Newcastle played Nottingham Forest, who is struggling to find some kind of cohesion given all the additions to their team. So what I wrote here is that Brighton suffocated United by forcing them to play within a confined area. You see that box is highlighted in kind of like the light blue there. That box is like the center backs and the wing backs. So and then Dunk provides cover, if you want to make like a pentagon there. What I liked about this is that kind of like that passing in that box made the opposing midfielders just kind of run around. It seems like they were chasing the ball. But they're going up against a Newcastle team that's going to be a little bit more tactically astute, as weird as it is to say, than United is. So what I expect like the result to be is, if we look at Newcastle's passing network on the right side there, I think Bruno Guimaraes he'll play deeper than he did against Forest. He'll play deeper, and then his balls will be more on the more diagonal instead of flat as they were against Forest, because he won't be as high up the field. So I don't like him for fantasy. I think Bruno could be dropping to be kind of like a playmaker in fantasy for Newcastle. And then I do think they'll play kind of like wider in the half spaces to try to get in between the wing backs and the center backs, and Brighton's wing backs and center backs. So I actually like Almiron and San Maximan. Not that many people have them. I know. I've seen some people with San Maximan, but I like them to kind of exploit Brighton's half spaces, and I think they could get something.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, looking at those, the predictions, 33% and 28% for a clean sheet. I mean, Newcastle away from home have not been as, they've not been as good, have they? I think Brighton at home, I was quite impressed. I was very impressed with Brighton, I've got to be honest. I think, interesting enough, Pascal Gross appeared, didn't he, on the numbers, certainly statistic-wise, he seemed to do quite well. I'm just looking at that. Yeah, third best for XG. 0.97 XG, guys. Is he back as an asset? What do you think?
No, I wouldn't go near. No, I wouldn't go near him. Maybe if you're playing FPL Draft and he's available for free, sure, like sell some crap pick you got. But
you know me, I like to look for these. I like to look for these statistics, and I ask people who watch the. But I did watch part of the game. Most of the game, to be honest. but
if
yeah,
we just looked at the numbers, then
as
they're saying, William says, if we just looked at the numbers, then Nunez is on course for like 149 XG this season. So it's definitely worth bearing in mind. 2 free transfers for Ducky. But let's talk about Brighton and Newcastle, not Liverpool. I think for me, Gabe, I think the ones that look appealing is obviously I had Sanchez on my bench instead of Ward, and he got 4 points. So I think I'll definitely be playing him this week against Newcastle. What was impressive about Newcastle for me was just how well they dominated that game, but I suppose it is just Forest, so we have to be careful there. I think both from an attacking perspective and an XG considered perspective, they were like the best performer of the game week. Perhaps it is because they played Forest though, so I'd be a bit careful with that.
Yeah, it's too early.
The only worry, isn't it?
Data-wise, you don't know. Forest have invested a lot out of the three teams which came up. Forest have put more money into the team than anyone.
That's because they had no one left, right? Like they had to buy like 11 players because they didn't have a squad. Which for me means maybe it will take time to gel. I just think that personally, like I do really like Newcastle. So I think some people will have started with the likes of Trippier. I think he's a great shout to hold on to for a while. On the Brighton side, I really like Dunk at 4.5. I think the only reason he got a price drop was because he was injured last year so much, didn't get as many minutes. So I think these are all great options, but I almost feel like, are you really going to be using free transfers to move to a Dunk or Trippier if you don't already have them? Like, or are they wildcard picks? Should you wildcard around game week 5 or 9? Probably the latter.
They could be targets for. I think somebody in the chat said they're going Robbo and Archer to Neco and Nunez. So if you're going, say, Robbo to Dunk and then to upgrade a forward to Nunez,
to free up the 2 million,
it could be a consideration. I think Trippier, he's a decent asset. There's a bit of a peppered fixtures. I think not great, good and bad. So I don't know. He's in that battle for that the 5 million defender. With Zinchenko and Gabriel and there are several others there.
What do you think about Gavinha 99's question up on the screen? So he's got Trippier, who could start away at Brighton this week, or Josh De Silva home to Man United, Andreas Pereira away to Wolves. The 3-4-3 man in me would say Andreas on corners. But I kind of feel like, are Brighton going to do what they did again, like every week? Probably not. Like, they still got the striker Undov, like he's not got going yet. At some point, I'm sure he'll make that spot his own. But for now, I think it's a tough call. Is there anyone else you can bench? Is Trippier the weakest link? Like, say if I had like a Spurs wing back this week, like Perisic, I'd consider benching him over Trippier, I'd say. So I don't know if you have that kind of situation going on, but yeah, let us know in the chat.
I mean, I just think that this game, the Brighton Newcastle's got 1-1 all over it.
Yeah, it does feel like a 1-1, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's got 1-1 all over it. So I'm not sure that Trippier's a particularly good pick for this week.
Yeah.
Let's go to Man City Bournemouth. I'm just checking in terms of his question as well about is Trippier on all direct and indirect set pieces.
I'd still start Trippier over a 4-5 midfielder.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fair. I think
Man City, Bournemouth. I think this can be one of the quick ones. You know, it's just pretty obvious, right? Man City, Bournemouth. We know what to do here. If you didn't learn,
we're going to get on the debate. We're going to get on the debate when we come to captaincy, anyway, right? Aren't we? And
yeah.
I mean, if anything, we're not really looking at. There's not a lot of statistics apart from the fact that Bournemouth statistics are completely false.
Exactly.
At this moment, so yeah, move on.
Bournemouth will sit in the back five when they go away, and I like Cancelo to potentially haul. You know, like a double digit haul with a clean sheet and potentially an attacking return, even from the left side against Bournemouth.
Yeah, I mean, when we come to the captaincy, Cancelo comes up in the conversation, so I think rightly so. And I think you know where I would come from here is, you know, City's a first ranked attack, and I mean, my notes here say very simply, I expect Bournemouth's honeymoon to end with a crash this week.
I think it's interesting that you got the 28% highest odds of 2 goals, and then it's kind of even with 3 goals or 1 goal. So we're saying City is as likely to score 3 as they are to score 1, but most likely to score at least 2. So
yeah, well, they're more likely to score 4 or more than they are none.
You don't see that very often.
Exactly.
Yeah, you definitely don't. You don't see that many times a season in any matchup on NetxG.
No. And if you know, one of these days I'll display it as a graph with the curve and like the kind of, you'll see how the curve shifts, and that can, like, from visually represents it better, like kind of where those percentages are.
One of these days we'll get the teams which are right at home and away as well.
I blame you, man.
I don't know how you've managed to achieve this, because I've just checked my information. It's absolutely right on my spreadsheet. So God knows what you've done, Mr. IT Dinosaur.
You had to put together 10 matchups, right? It's a lot of work.
I don't know how he's done it. Anyway, right, let's keep going.
Yeah, let's go to the next matchup. So just before we go, I just want to bring up, this is a good comment about what do we think about Foden? Someone's going to bring him in for Diaz. It's a tough one. I think if I had a Liverpool player right now, I'd probably still hold them. I don't think Palace home's a bad fixture. I think 2 transfers next week will give you more flexibility. I can see why you'd want to do it. Like, I have Mount, and that's a consideration. Like, do I just jump ship before this Spurs match for Chelsea? But the reality is none of the City midfielders like screamed out to me as like the one to go for. I didn't really see anything from Foden, Grealish, Mahrez, any of these guys. I don't think I'd go there quite yet. I know it's a tasty fixture, but I think you're going to go into it for a potential haul, but you could miss out on a much more exciting move with double the information in a week's time. So I will personally hold. And Diaz is, you know, he's going to be far more nailed on to get minutes as well. So yeah, I wouldn't go into that. And just Walker and Cancelo, guys. I think obviously Walker's 5 million. We don't know if City are going to sign a wing back or not, a fullback or not, before the window closes. Obviously, they failed on Cucurella. There was talks of Ait Nouri and some other options. I think for me, like Cancelo and Walker are doing, I guess, what Arteta was doing with Arsenal, right? Like in possession, like Arteta's copy Pep, like in possession, the 2 fullbacks are kind of like, well, not Walker as much, but Cancelo, at least, he's tucking it into the midfield as like a left centre mid, in like a 3-man midfield with the pivot. I think it's telling, right, that Cancelo got 2 bonus despite a yellow card. So I think it's less their average position being good for BPS. Like, I suppose it helps because they're in the center of the pitch to pass. But I just think it's their passing numbers and the pass completion rates. Someone like James as well got a yellow card, 2 bonus. So I think players like James and Cancelo, they've proven that even despite yellow cards, they can get 2 bonus. So yeah, these are kind of going to be hoovering up bonus for the rest of the season. Personally, if you've got both Walker and Cancelo this week, I envy you. That's for sure. I'd rather double defense this week.
Could I just come back in on Foden? As a Foden owner, I'm not I'm worried. Even as a Foden owner, I'm worried. So I don't know that. I don't think I'd be bringing him in. I mean, there's a possibility he could go across to the left and Grealish falls off, right? Mahrez comes in, Grealish falls off. At least Foden can play left or right. That's one thing which gives me a slight bit of comfort. But
and he's one of his favorite players, right? So like he generally finds his way into the lineup after like a 40-minute preseason or something.
Yeah, but I have to say I do have that slight niggling Mahrez itch, which worries me deeply.
Yeah, I think what concerns me.
You all
right?
know what I think of Mahrez after last season.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for this fucker to nail me again this week with Foden benched for 89 minutes and Mahrez scoring a hat trick. And then don't get me on the stream next week, right?
That's what I mean. Yeah. So like, imagine you went for Foden now and he didn't start. Yeah. I would hold off. But just on that, like, so Foden played like 88 minutes, but he had no shots on target, no shots off target, no blocked shots. He had 2 key passes. I think what we've seen is like every single player who created in that game was creating for Haaland. So like the way they're playing has changed. Everything goes to him. So yeah, I just, as much as I'd like a City mid, I think I need to see more, and I need to see Foden step it up a bit and actually that maybe take a shot before I'd be willing to transfer him in. Diaz, you know, he hit the crossbar. He had an offside goal. Like, he showed a lot more than Foden did, despite not returning as well, is my view.
Yeah. I don't hate Walker as a wildcard option if somebody's thinking about it, though. Because he's cheap, right? Good to get into that value.
Still prefer Ake, but...
Yeah, maybe.
We're almost peaking at 50 live viewers, guys.
Well, let's keep going. That's nothing. We were over 100 the other day, Nima. You need to be on point, mate.
The deadline stream. No. But the point was, guys,
you were pissed somewhere anyway.
Yeah,
exactly.
But yeah, guys, smash that like button, please. It really helps the channel. If you find the content useful as well, like, help us out here. There's like more than double the viewers, so please do hook it up, and we'll move on to Southampton Leeds.
Southampton Leeds, I think again we can go through it relatively quickly. Although there were some interesting things from Leeds, I think, that we saw, and I'm considering bringing Aronson in. But now that Brentford have signed Damsgaard, you know, he has competition for my transfer. So start with the NetxG. It's almost identical across the board, as you can see. 1.51 for Leeds and 1.54 for Southampton. You know, just both just putrid defenses, attacks that are trying to find themselves. So if we look at the passing maps here, the Southampton was narrow because they were being overrun in large part because of the blunders by Hasenhüttl. We see Djenepo and Salisu over on the left-hand side. No other player on the team is near them. You see the cluster of players for Southampton on the right-hand side. This is just like not just tactical ineptitude, but the way I see it is like on the right-hand side, KWP was the most advanced with the Armstrongs, and Avia and AVL-EVE, they crowded JWP there in the middle. So I just think Leeds' expansive approach against a mediocre Wolves team shows that they can open Southampton up. I'd like Rodrigo and Aronson this week to get a return.
Well, what are your thoughts on Leeds? Because obviously we spoke about them in pre-season a bit, didn't we? In terms of like Aronson in the midfielder episode, and we kind of skipped Bamford in the forward episode. But I think we have to take them a bit more seriously now, especially with exit routes for Bailey becoming a hot topic. Yeah, like for me, I think I prefer Aronson to Bamford at 2 million. Less people saying Mariner.
Same. Yeah, agree. I mean, look, Bamford's a great asset, but I think there's other assets at that price point which we will be looking at with respect to a striker. From my point of view, Bailey to Aronson, especially, you know, given the fact that, I think that at that price point, it could turn out to be the other. It could turn out to be Martinelli and Aronson, in my opinion. Is possibly where I'm thinking. Bailey looked great at 5 million, but the jury's out, right? As we know. So we'll have to see how it goes. But yeah, I really like him. I mean, Bamford looks like he's back to what Patrick Bamford was, which is good to see. It's good to see him recovering from injury. I'm a bit more positive about Leeds now. And they've got some really good fixtures. You know,
except for Leeds. I mean, except for Chelsea next week. So if you want to sell Bailey to Aronson,
no, I mean, but I mean, look,
I think you can go in game week 4 though, right?
But could Bamford score against Chelsea? Absolutely, he could.
No, I'm talking about Aronson. If we're looking for that Bailey replacement, right, and we want to sell Bailey, we don't want to keep Bailey probably past this week. And if we want to go to Aronson, then they play Chelsea. But Damsgaard just came into to Brentford for the same price, 5.5 million, and Damsgaard will be facing Fulham, albeit away. he's definitely on the watch list as well.
I mean, yeah, point taken. I think the only thing I would say is that it looks like for me, once you start, you don't want to be making many transfers at that 5.5 million sort of price point, do you? You don't want to be wasting your free transfers jumping around from those assets. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's Aronson at this moment in time. I take your point about Damsgaard. I'm not sold on Brentford yet. That's my point.
I'm just not sold on Southampton, but let's see what happens with them. Yeah, so Leeds is the only team here I'm considering. So I'll swiftly move on to Wolves versus Fulham and the Andreas Pereira show and Mitrovic show.
Yeah, so there's a lot of talk of how Craven Cottage is a lot smaller than other grounds in the Premier League, and it is a little bit smaller. We see here compared to Molineux, it's 6 yards shorter or 6 meters shorter, sorry, and it's 3 meters narrower. Craven Cottage is. Well, that doesn't seem like much, but that's like if you're thinking, you have about a person's length extra on each side. And just the way Craven Cottage is set up, how close the fans are to the pitch, and Molineux is somewhat the same. Yeah, it's I don't think it's an easy place to go. I really think, like, you see Fulham's passing map there on the right hand side, and it has that kind of direct the route one from Rodak to Mitrovic, because they're playing on a small pitch. You have the midfielders who are coming in to get the second balls. I think Wolves' midfielders are better. Neves and Moutinho are better at collecting those second balls and reading the play. And I think they're going to take advantage of a little bit of a different atmosphere. And Fulham was riding that home field a little bit there. So I see a Wolves win here. I wouldn't be surprised if Neto gets something just because he's a better player than Podence.
It's an interesting one. I mean, Mitrovic, guys, he was impressive to me. He really looked the part, actually. I mean, I've always thought, it's been a bit of an old joke to me. I always used to post his heat maps with just a big spot on the centre circle. Where he kicked off all the time in previous seasons. But no, he looked quite good. I thought he looked good. I thought Fulham, obviously Fulham were riding on a crest of a wave, coming back into the Premier League. They gave Liverpool a good go, to be fair. Mitrovic, to me, at that price point, Nima, given the fact we've got quite a lot of forwards which are in the conversation, Mitrovic, Wilson, Bamford, Tony, I think he's the best pick.
Yeah, so I think he's obviously risen to 6.6 now, but like for nearly $1 million less than Wilson, I definitely prefer him with the kind of the talismanic approach, and plus he's also less likely to break. But and that's not just a cliche. I think for me, I think the main thing here is just to check is Fulham away, right? Okay, so I'm just double checking that. Yeah, so
Fulham's away. I don't know why they're all messed up. Forget the H.
Yeah, no. So the reason that's important to me is I just feel like a lot of the time promoted teams, when they first come back into the league, they have like an incredible start with their home fans behind them. And last time they came up to the Premier League, it was when there was no fans in the stadium. That season they then got re-relegated. So for me, the fact that they kind of put up that fight last game, like, that's all well and good, but they're now going to go away from home, and I don't think Wolves are just going to like let them play ball. I appreciate Mitrovic like bullied the fuck out of Van Dijk. Like, doesn't happen often from anyone, but yeah, I just think it was the pumped up crowd and being in front of the home fans that's being promoted, whereas last time there was no home fans. I really think, for those who are asking, the reason I brought this up is a lot of people are considering playing Pereira, right? So I'm just going to put up one of the questions from the chat. They're essentially asking all of us about, like, what's the deal? Like, would you play Pereira? I think for me, the fact that it's an away game, I just can't see myself doing that.
We may have to if Bailey's benched. If there's rumours that Bailey's benched, we may have to.
So that's the thing. I would only do it if I heard something conclusive, like pre-deadline, because it is just a journalist predicted lineup, and like there is definitely something off at Villa, because obviously, like, we saw the whole stuff about, like, Mings didn't get selected. Apparently there was an issue, but then later it was said he had an injury. Supposedly they want to sell Watkins. There's beef with the manager. Don't know how true that is. 2 days after they want to sell Watkins and there's beef with the manager, they now want to drop Bailey and start Watkins. So it's like, something is not right there. I think, and I looked at his record, Gerrard's record at Villa, and there's just something off there. Very off. Like, let's just say that. Like, his record, I think, is pretty bad. Like if you look at how many games Frank has been in charge of Everton, he basically has the same number of Premier League wins, and Gerrard's been there a lot longer. So, all the scrutiny Frank gets, like, at what point do we kind of consider that Gerrard's time at Rangers wasn't a blip towards the end? Is it happening again? Is he just using Villa as a stepping stone to make all his mistakes now, get them out the way, and go back to his boyhood club?
Go back to Sky Sports.
No. Go back to Liverpool. That's the dream, right? Go back to Liverpool.
He won't end up there if he doesn't sort himself out, will he?
If he carries on like this, he probably won't end up there.
Not chance of him turning up at Grimsby.
Stepping stone.
But yeah, no, I think the main thing though is, like, if it's like a Bailey versus Pereira debate. I think if I had Neto at home, I would not be benching Neto at home to play Pereira in the same game away. That's just not something I could find myself doing. But yeah, if you've got Bailey and you think he's benched, perhaps, but equally, like, Bailey's got a home game and you kind of got him for these first few games, and he didn't get subbed last time. So, when they were chasing the game, he stayed on. You would think that's promising.
Yeah, I saw the tweet from Hibbo, which I think he recycled Adam Hotcroft's tweet, which worries me. When I start seeing Adam tweet about it, that starts to worry me.
He just retweeted like a tabloid, right?
Yeah, it was just someone's predicted
lineup. Adam comment on it though. I thought he did anyway. Maybe.
Yeah, but he is a Villa fan.
With one eye open.
He is a Villa fan, and like we did see a similar thing from James Planet FPL, where he quote retweeted like a journalist from Spurs who has sources at Spurs club, and they'd predicted that both Doherty and Perisic were benched, and it turned out to be
they
true.
were right.
So,
yeah,
but I think that person had more accurate sources at the club, and they were for a more established media than the tabloid. Let's just say.
Guys, let's keep going. Brentford, Manchester United. Gabe.
All right. I disagree with you on Brentford, Mariner. I actually really like what I saw from them because of the way they were able to shift tactics in that game. They played 3 different formations. They went from a 4-3-3 to a 3-5-2 to a 3-4-3. And that's basically like how they just like destroyed and embarrassed Brendan Rodgers. Brentford. So what this image shows, the black one, the dark one there on the left, it shows like that their opportunities. When they get a big chance, they usually bury it. They're not, I guess they're not hitting the woodwork like they used to, Mariner, because they seem to be pretty efficient. Now on the defensive side, Brentford, they conceded many small chances to Leicester. You see like all the blue there in the darker quadrant. There's a lot of small blue chances there. United have the players to convert these small chances though into big chances. So you think of Bruno and Sancho and all these players, and I don't think we've seen United yet. A lot of people want to jump on them, and rightly so, for their awful performance against Brighton. But I think we don't really know much there. So I would wait and see on that one. The one thing I'll say about United is, Bruno's playing kind of the left-hand side of that midfield, of the attacking midfield. And when you look at their passing maps, it's actually Scott McTominay playing on the right-hand side. And when you have Scott McTominay playing a Bruno role, and you have Christian Eriksen playing a friggin' like Cristiano Ronaldo role, that things are just not going to work out in your team. So we'll see if United can get their act together in front of at home, away to Brentford, difficult place to play. And they're a very tactically astute team that I just think they'll break United down. Yeah. I would predict a Brentford win, despite the slight favorite for United, according to NetxG.
I mean, look, Brentford at home are a tough side. I mean, just very quickly on assets, right? I think the only one really of any consequence to talk about is Rashford. I mean, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, he didn't have he was unlucky not to return, in my opinion. I think Sanchez made a point. Sanchez made quite a good stop, didn't he, against him? So 3.6 XG. He would be going nowhere. If I owned him, he'd be going nowhere. Just if anybody's having a bit of an itch about that, just pause. You know, I still think he can maybe get something against Brentford. The issue is Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't know what on earth they're going to, you know, the way they're setting up, you know, there's clearly some serious problems in that club. And it's a, I mean, who knows? Who knows how they're going to set up next? I don't think he knows. So
I don't even know if Ronaldo starts the second game.
No,
it's all a bit wishy-washy at the moment, especially the window open.
I wouldn't get rid of Rashford if anyone's considering it.
I think I'd wait at least another week. But for me, like the player that I'm most excited by is Tony. So he could be a fantastic option come game week 3 onwards. If you want to get to a third attacker and move out of kind of Greenwood or Archer or Taylor or whatever other 4.5 forward we have.
Josh Da Silva, 4.5 million.
He was talked about pre-season. Apparently, he was injured quite a bit last year,
He
which
was
is why
the
we didn't see
previous
as
year,
much of him.
That's right.
Yeah, so like the fans of the club really rate him and they expect him to have a breakout year. So I think anyone who did own him had him benched last week, so no one got the 6-pointer. But he's one to keep an eye on. He might.
He'll also play a little deeper with Damsgaard arriving. Damsgaard will be
that's a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah, great point, Gabe. Great point.
Should we before we play the next one? I'm just gonna play the tumbleweed video for a bit for 20 seconds to get a drink. But yeah, so we cracked 60 live viewers now. Thanks everyone. So please enjoy this clip of last preseason where we had our first ever guest on, Tom Stephenson. He was like Hall of Fame #1 for a while, and I think I came in too warm with him, but we're friends now.
Basically, you made a right cock of yourself, didn't you?
To be fair, the music and the edit prolongs the silence a lot longer than it really was. But for anyone who's not watched this, I'm sure you'll enjoy me embarrassing myself.
It felt like an eternity.
I love it.
It just felt like it.
Definitely our most popular member of the Net That Haul crew, and you can definitely be our 5th crewmate now going forward. Definitely be our 5th crewmate now going forward. Hello, darkness, my old friend. So, just while we're here as well, guys, so please do continue.
Yeah, so please continue hitting that like button, guys. I'll keep uploading clips of me embarrassing myself. If we get to enough likes, I might even put the Ali G outfit back on because I can literally see it staring at me from the corner of the room. So, you know, either we get to 100 live viewers or 50 likes, and you might see Ali G come out. Chain, goatee, hat, everything. Full yellow tracksuit.
We need to do a Netflix drama. That's what we need. That's what we need, a Netflix drama. Yeah, just like Wrexham and Grimsby spoiled that, didn't they?
The new reality show. That's what needs to happen.
Anyway, there's the evil laugh. I'm actually going to record that evil laugh into a small clip, then play it every time I play it on the...
Well, every time you say Arsenal?
Yeah.
All right. I think this is a good one to look at. There's Forest versus West Ham. I don't think many of us have West Ham assets or are looking at them till around game week 7 when the fixture swing happens with the great block up until game week 10. But I think it's still worth having a little look because, you know, like they were quite depleted, weren't they, West Ham, when they faced City last week? But it should be a bit of a different story when they go to Forest.
Yeah, and I have the passing maps here, and we'll go through this one rather quickly as well. The one thing I will say is that seeing the way like a depleted West Ham handled City, I thought they did all right. I mean, they were dominated, but they weren't embarrassed. And they were, you know, they had injuries and they had Ben Johnson playing at center back. When Haaland got that penalty kick, I don't know if you saw, but Ben Johnson, he's playing center back and he's supposed to be getting tight to Haaland, but he's a right back. So he just instinctively he starts to run outside, he starts to run wide and opens up the lane for Haaland. So I felt bad for him there, but I just think that West Ham can impose their style of play on Forest just the same way Newcastle did. We see like Newcastle has like this kind of triangle on the right hand side. Like we see Bruno Guimaraes right there in the middle, and then on the right hand side you have Willock, Almiron, Wilson, and they have Trippier there for width. And Nottingham Forest kind of threw all their players to their left hand side to account for that. So I think they're going to do the same thing, kind of throw their players to their left-hand side again as West Ham try to use Bowen. But I think the opposite side could see some action. We see like in Nottingham Forest's passing map there, how they're all on the left. So on the right-hand side, there could be a lot of space for a player like, I don't know what's going on with Ben Brahma, but it could be Fornals on that left-hand side, or it could be Cornet if he gets a start over there. I think West Ham are going to kind of impose themselves on Forest.
Yeah. What about Bowen? There's a couple of people have been tweeting me about Bowen. You know, people have got the money in the bank. They've got that $500,000 sat staring at them. You know, they've got Kulusevski now playing Chelsea, Richarlison on the horizon. It was always but Kulusevski's in great form. You know, Gabe, come on, please. Would you do Kulusevski up to Bowen given this game? Given West Ham going forwards?
I would consider it. I think it's a consideration. It depends on the type of manager you are, but I think it would be chasing some upside. And I think there's something to be had here with the way, like, just tactically the matchup works out. I wouldn't be surprised, as I type there, if Bowen gets something.
I mean, as a closet Forest fan, don't underestimate Forest at home, is what I would say as well. Don't underestimate them. It's going to be a full house. It's going to be absolutely rocking there.
Home opener for a promoting club is always dangerous.
Yeah. So, yeah. But anyway, let's see. I'm looking at
Fornals as my netto exit route after game week 6 if all goes well. So I'll be keeping an eye on West Ham for the coming weeks for my watch list.
He might lose his spot to Cornet.
Yeah, but I heard he may have been signed as a wing-back cover as well. So I think he's like cover for multiple positions, like both as an attacker and also as a wing-back. So if one of their wing-backs was injured, maybe we just see him permanently there. But also it looks like people who I've been speaking to, like West Ham fans, they don't seem very hot on Cresswell these days anymore. So I don't know if he's kind of slowly on his way out the club at some point. But yeah, this is the big game, right? The Sunday, Super Sunday match. This is going to tell us a lot. We're going to learn. This is part of why I want to save a transfer. Like, if you have Kulusevski or Mount, just fucking play them and let's see what we learn about these two teams and how prepared they are for the season.
It could easily be 2-2. It's one of those games. It could be a bit of blood and guts. I mean, of course, I've sold Kane, so he's bound to get at least 2 returns. So, you know, there we go. I'm on the... So far, last year I was on the right side of the variance. So far, completely the opposite. But anyway, there we go. That's my moan out the way. Gabe, I mean, the NetxG on these, 27 point, most likely to score 2 goals, both of them.
I mean, everything is almost within 1 percentage point, except for 4+. It's a little favors Chelsea a little bit. I'm not sure why.
Why is it bright green?
So the colors will be explained. Don't worry about the colors for now. It's like when you put them together, then you see why they're coded that way. But they don't mean anything when we just pair them up like this. Yeah. So NetxG likes a draw here. I think we have Spurs' passing network here, and I think it's just largely a function of Djenepo playing wingback for Southampton. When we look at this passing map, it was just kind of all Kulusevski all day. And it's it's a pretty simple equation to drop Kane, and Son fills in that gap. So Son was the player that was the furthest advanced. When Kane drops, Son fills in there, and then Sessegnon pulls up into Son's space there. But I don't know. I think against a team like Chelsea, I think Kane's going to want to be battling against those center backs. I think he's going to be pushed up against the center backs a little bit more than in the game. Like this one against Southampton, where they're playing a back 5, a deep block and stuff like that, where he wants to pull them out of position. Even though Chelsea will be in a back 3, I think I just think Kane with some physicality, he can find some pockets in there and kind of push the back 3. And I expect then Kulusevski and Son to cut inside in front of the back 3, and something come from inside, inside the lines and the lines of the box, but in front of the back 3, between the back 3 and the center mids there. So I just think that's how Tottenham are going to approach this. I do like Son and I like Kulusevski for this one if they can maintain that form. But the opposition is going to be much different for Kulusevski. I think he blanks this week, and it might be my bias coming through once again. But I do see it as more of a Kane week, and it'd be so perfect for FPL that the week where everyone's like, well, it's the obvious thing to do to go Kane to Haaland, right? That Kane comes back and bangs a brace or something like that. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happened against Chelsea.
It's written in the stars, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's just written in the stars.
Kane was almost a Don Juan pick. I was this close, but then I figured that's more troll than a heart pick. So
I'm not sure anyone's set up like this, but I do know one person who's set up like this. It's my missus. She's got Son, and she hasn't got a City asset at all in attack. Son to KDB this week. What's your view?
Yes. I don't think I go near it. I just take a minus.
We've got a yes and a no there. That's it. That's a good sign.
I just take a -4 and go straight to Haaland. After what I saw, everyone's supplying him. Champions League hasn't begun. He has no World Cup. They're going to play the fuck out of him so that they can learn how to play with a striker and win the Champions League for the first time. KDB looked great, but like, I just don't see it. Like,
I don't think it's possible. She's set up with one up front. She's set up with one up top, and that's Jesus. I think it's a complete suicide pact. I think it's maybe possible. I'll have to have a look for it. But no, I think the KDB. I mean, we'll talk about KDB a little bit later. You mentioned this setting up to provide Haaland. Who could do that?
If you can't get to Haaland, just get somewhere. Just get to KDB. You'll get Haaland on your wild card next week. I don't know. You'll definitely get him. Haaland is obvious, but you gotta find a way to get to City.
Yeah, fair enough. But I think this is a good game. This will be a good game to watch. It'll tell us a lot, and I think the general consensus. What we always say on Net That Haul. We'll know a lot more next week. We'll know a lot more next week.
I think I agree with FPL DG Boy 88. So Gundo looked great. If Bernardo does leave,
I agree. Yeah,
he's starting to look like he's been given the captaincy armband. Pep really trusts him. He's been given it over the likes of De Bruyne to become captain. So he's a massive one to watch for me, and he might be the City mid to emerge when we were talking about the likes of Foden, Mahrez, Grealish. It could actually be Gundo, and he could be the one that emerges. And I'm really excited to watch him. So absolutely
love that.
That's
a great shout. That is a really good shout if Bernardo goes.
Yeah. So I don't know how Barca are fielding players because,
nobody knows what Barca are doing. Nobody knows how.
Well, the deadline is tomorrow to register to the La Liga. Like they've got 5-6 players they can't play in La Liga if they're not registered by tomorrow, and 2 of them were free agents that could get released. So they seem very confident and bullish they'll do it, but they're leaving it till the 12th hour.
It's going to be a problem, right? Anyway, let's keep going.
Go on, guys. Smash that like. Yes. Ali G's waiting.
Come on, boys. Liverpool and Palace game to finish us off, and then we'll dive into the other parts of the matchups, and then the zonals, and then we'll hit the captaincy, and then we'll answer a few questions and get the hell out of here.
Okay, Liverpool Palace. We'll get through this one. We'll see how this one goes. I see how interesting you find this. So on the left-hand side, we have Liverpool's passing network and Fulham's passing network, just as reference points as I kind of go through the tactical focus here. From a NetxG perspective, no surprise to see how Liverpool 2.06, Palace is 0.92, with the most likely result of 1 goal, 38.2% chance of 1 goal. And Liverpool's most likely is 2 goals at 27.6%. But again, similar to City, Liverpool have more of a chance of 3 goals than they do of 1 goal. And they have more than double the chance of 4 or more goals than they do of 0 goals. So those numbers are interesting just to see which way that kind of shifts. Let's see. So one thing I noticed that obviously we all saw Fulham. They beat up on Liverpool with the pressure and Mitrovic's physicality on that small pitch and those kind of route one balls going to Mitrovic and the midfielders picking up the second balls. I think Mitrovic bothered Liverpool by standing in between the center mids and the back line and serving as a target for Rodak. Against Palace, though, I expect Liverpool to be less bothered for 3 reasons. One, it's Palace don't have a target like Mitrovic. They don't have this, like Edouard is a physical presence. He's a big guy and he can drop and be a target, but he isn't physical himself. So that's a difference. Liverpool playing at Anfield. on a much longer pitch. Obviously, it's 110 meters versus 100 at Craven Cottage, and it's 10 meters wider as well. Is a big deal, and it's just the home opener. The crowd at Anfield is going to be raucous. It's going to be crazy, and I think I expect Palace to sit in a really deep 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-1-1 and just soak up pressure. I think Eze, he'll be an interesting option at some point this season, but I don't like him in a game like this. I don't see really where a 10 can influence anything in a game like this. I do like Zaha to get under the skin of a kind of like a frustrated Alexander-Arnold, though, and that's why I kind of see Palace scoring in this one, probably from Zaha, maybe from a penalty from
That's just what I wanted to hear with double Liverpool.
Just what I didn't want to bloody hear. Yeah.
No, I want them to sell Robbo. Like, it's like Jesus last week. These guys are too highly owned. I need people to rage sell them so I can get even more rank game when they eventually get
yourself. I'm doubled up on Alisson and bloody Trent. That's the last thing I want, is to lose a clean sheet again. I mean, look, from my side, we're going to come on to the matchups from the point of view of the fixture difficulty in a minute. But, spoiler alert, defense is better than attack for Liverpool this week on the fixture difficulty. So from my side, I actually see that the Trents and the Robbos actually have some possibility of scoring quite a lot of points this week, is my view. That's certainly where I'm coming from. Palace, right? They were the third ranked defense away from home the last 6 game weeks of last season. Third ranked. They were pretty well organized then. Now, yeah, I agree with you, Gabe, completely agree with you. Anfield, you can't say that any Liverpool attacker is a bad asset this week. It would be ludicrous to say it. What I'm saying is there's a few caveats. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something we have to just keep in the back of our mind. You've said that maybe the Zaha caveat for the clean sheet. I would say that, Palace away from home, yes, Fortress Selhurst Park, proved wrong last week. Away from home, they surprised me when I started looking at the numbers. It was quite noticeable how much they'd improved away from home defensively at the end of last season as well. So I think we just have to just temper that slightly.
And I think Firmino starts his last home opener for Klopp. He's done a lot for that team. He's healthy. He hasn't been as effective nearly, obviously, as Darwin, but he gets his last start.
I'll tell you what, though, I think even coming off the bench, I think Darwin's a solid chance for
that's an argument that I'm not buying. It's like, well,
I do. I'd be shocked.
9 million for a player that's not.
We'll have a little wager on it for next week.
That's not what I'm doing. It's not. My point is, you're people are willing to pay 9 million for a player that isn't starting. Like, just think about that. It's like, oh, but he can get a return in third.
I never said I was going to own him. I just said he's going to return.
Maybe he might return, but he has very limited time. It's like the people that started with Perisic. Well, he might not start, but he could get something in the 20 minutes he plays. Yeah, but that's not where you invest. That's not a smart investment.
I think it depends how you play. So some people love the frills of the players that get the 1 point, 1 point, 1 point 21, 1 point, 1 point 21. It's a bit much for my stomach to weather that storm, but some people can live with those 1 points.
You get a 1 point because you start and you got a yellow card versus you get 1 point because you're not starting. Like, it's just, why would you invest in that player that's getting 30 minutes?
I don't know.
Firmino said this will be Firmino's last ever start.
I don't even like. I would wait to see Nunez start before I would move to him as an asset. Yeah. That's for certain.
Exactly.
So I totally agree on that.
I think that's a very, very fair way.
Just a quick shout out to our friend One Life Soccer TV. I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for your assets, Walker, Foden, and Haaland in that game. I hope they fucking haul big, mate. I love that. It's a very interesting setup.
Haaland.
Obviously, no Cancelo.
No.
Have you seen
Haaland, Foden, and Cancelo? So I want 2 out of those 3. Very nice. Thank you very much.
I was gonna say, have you seen what happened? So that he can be more marketable for the Western audience, he's changed his name to Haaland. He said, "You can call me Haaland, H-A and then land, Haaland. Call me Haaland." He does. He's Armand taught us in preseason how you got to say the word horny and then land.
Yeah.
So you say Haaland.
Yeah.
But he's come out and he said in his interview, like, yeah, just call me Haaland, like Haaland.
Well, there we go. He's channeling his inner mariner with pronunciation's been bad, right? So
I think he just wants more more marketing.
I
And
think
he's probably
he
fed up of
realized-
hearing
I think
people
he's
say his
realized
name.
it's pointless.
He's like, these guys are
Otherwise-
never going to learn to pronounce my
Exactly.
goddamn name.
Right, should we crack on? We're just
Yeah,
over an
let's get to
hour,
the
so
FPRs.
it won't take us long to go through this. I'm just going to concentrate on a couple here. And I mean, obviously, Gabe's gone through the fixtures quite a lot, so we don't need to go too much detail. But Arsenal, attack over defence, 2.7 against 1.6. I think I tend to agree with you. Leicester can get something. But saying that, I still think it's a pretty solid match. I certainly wouldn't be benching an Arsenal asset this week.
So I saw someone benching Gabriel to play Andreas Pereira. They are a Leicester fan, so...
Well, there is that. There is that.
And then I said to them, didn't you buy Gabriel for like the set piece?
Oh, don't you asshole. You need to bring this up, don't you? Right, okay, let me tell you my thinking. I brought back Gabriel over Zinchenko, right, for his headed chances. And then Zinchenko, the smallest, is he the smallest man on the pitch? I think he might well have been. The smallest man on the pitch.
You won't see assists like that from him
It's a
often.
headed assist.
Maybe never again.
FPL, fuck right off.
For what it's worth, I think the routine was that he was supposed to receive it and volley it back, but he had to improvise because it didn't arrive in the right location.
That is peak FPL. That sums my game week up in way.
But just imagine you brought him in for like the set piece goal. And then you're gonna bench him against Leicester, who concede set. So I actually asked the Leicester fan, I was like, don't you guys like concede like a lot from set pieces? And they were like, yeah, we do. We were meant to get a set piece coach, but they've not arrived yet at the club. And I was like, so yeah, that kind of sounds like this is the game I got Gabriel Zinchenko for.
Yeah.
So
Cheers,
I'm
mate.
definitely starting him, like regardless of the defensive FDR. And it's not exactly the worst here. The only teams better are like City and Liverpool, maybe West Ham. But who has a West Ham defender right now?
He's starting. But we both had that problem. We both own Gabriel, right?
Well, you know what? I had Zinchenko for a
pretty
month even before he became an Arsenal player. I had a 4 Arsenal draft, and after a month, I changed to Gabriel. This is why I needed the deadline to pass. This overthinking. I wanted 3 Gabriels in my team, and now I've got 3 Gabriels in my team. So
I got 4.
what a level of overthinking.
Like the angel of death rather than the angel
I
of
include
Gabriel.
myself.
The manager is also called Gabriel.
That's
bloody hell.
right. That's right. So we got 4.
I found out one of Arteta's sons is called Gabby as well. Maybe that's why he keeps signing them.
And anyway, we must move off this point because I'm starting to feel depressed. I'm swearing a lot this morning. That's about the 3rd F word I've used today. Oh my God, I don't normally swear. Anyway, as I said, peak FPL. So angry about that. That really pissed me off. Right, let's keep going. Let's look at another one. Yeah, brilliant. Awesome. Yeah, sorry, teacher. Consider myself told off. I will 4 sides. 4 sides. Liverpool defense over attack, as I said, 2.5 against 1.6. Okay. Palace with a 3rd ranked defense, right? In our fixture difficulty, 2.6 ranked. That's pretty high. In fact, at the end of last season, they had a fixture difficulty of 1.2, boys. 1.2. So if you know my fixture difficulty, 0 best, 7 worst, that's as good as what City and Liverpool were actually were at stages last season. Palace were no pushover at the end of last season defensively. City attack 4.1. Spurs last week 4.3. 4 goals.
That's exciting.
Right? 4.1. Standout. Arsenal 2nd, 2.7, right? Liverpool 3rd, 1.6. All right. Defensively, Man City 2.7, Liverpool 2.5, Brighton 1.8, Arsenal 1.6. I think we've covered it all. I don't think we need to go into too much detail here. I just wanted to point out that some teams are, you might think that the fixture difficulty is good for the whole team, but it's better for some assets than it is for others. And I think, remember, you've got to consider, if anybody's new to this stream, you've got to consider home against away, and you've got to consider attack and defense as different entities. Don't listen to this bullshit you see on the FDR of the official site, because it's shite. right? I'm really on one today, aren't I, boys? It's complete crap. You need to have something which is more granular, and Net That Haul's is more granular. Right, Gabe, speaking of granular, let's go to NetxG, and forgive all the errors on the spreadsheet, but there's no data, right?
There's not enough data for the percentages yet. That's right. There's not enough data for the percentages yet. We were able to come up with the NetxG number, and we did go over them when we did the matchup. So I'm not going to spend too much time on them. Just to say quickly, this is a combination of different metrics. We have a creativity metrics, a shots metric, and an expected data metrics, and then there's a goalkeeper qualifier to kind of like try to account for all the elements of the gameplay. And then using our shots metric, that's how we calculate the percent chance of goals. So I mean, just to say, like I would go where my eyes go right away when I look at something like this is I'll go to the 2 goals. You're looking for at least 2 goals in a game, and who are the brightest green for the 2 goals. So when you look at 2, 3, and 4 plus goals, green is good, red is bad, and then green is good, red is bad for 0 and 1 goals as well. So a low chance of 0 goals is good, high chance of 0 goals is bad. So I go to the 2 goals, and obviously we have Arsenal at the top with almost 28%, Chelsea almost 28%, Liverpool and City, no surprise there. Man United with 27%, which is interesting, away to Brentford, and Spurs and West Ham with 27.7, 25.2% respectively. So, we talked about these players like Bowen. I do like Bowen this week. I think going from Kulusevski to Bowen to then maybe another 8 million is just a way to play upside. I think that could be a lot of fun, and it'll probably end in tears like most things in FPL. But I would consider that. I think that would be fun to do. I don't know. Man United, we can't touch Man United yet, and then
but keep Rashford for one more week at least.
Yeah. So do not let him go. You can't make that transfer now. That's pretty much it. The rest is pretty self-explanatory.
I'm just going to look at West Ham's attacking FDR over the longest spell after that match. So I think you're right to say if you bring in Bowen, you may then want to go to another 8 million minutes at minus 2.2.
Yeah.
Spurs over that spell is 7.3. So yeah, like I don't know, like I would just hold on to Kulusevski for the time being personally, but maybe I'm not chasing the upside.
Go back to that slide, Nima, because the other one, there's a comment about Mason Mount. There's been comments about Mason Mount before, hasn't there? Look, I mean, Chelsea's long-range fixture difficulty is pretty good for attack as well. So we've got to be a bit careful here. Don't, if you started with a player like Mason Mount, be very careful. If you jump off it, you just know what's going to happen. The curse of Mariner's going to come to you, isn't it? It's going to happen, right? The peak FPL is going to kill you. Right, okay. Zonals. Let's have a look at the zonals then. So what have we got here? Right, starting down the left. City, 4.9. This is chances. This is attack. Obviously, we've had to take some average numbers, but City's, with respect to Bournemouth, still very, very good. These are not this year's data yet. If we did that, it would be complete crap, Gabe, wouldn't it? We can't put it in just yet. There's not enough data points. We'll start to populate with new data in the coming weeks, probably when we've got a couple of home games and a couple of away games, because this looks at home or away as well. Right, so yeah, Man City and Bournemouth, 4.9. Villa, Brighton, Chelsea and Liverpool, all 3.8. So they're still all right. 3.8 chances. They're not big chances, Gabe, are they? These are chances, not big chances. So bear that in mind as well. Could be a ton of small chances which might offset it. Down the middle, City, 4.6. Here we go. Fulham, 4.2. Fulham, 4.2. That's probably more from the point that Wolves are bad than Fulham are good. I think. Have a look at that. Liverpool 4.1, Chelsea 4. And then on the right...
No, you know what that is? I'm sorry. Let's go back to Fulham. It's 4.2 because of their ridiculous numbers in the championship.
Well, there is that. I don't know. I mean, we've used a little bit of data from it, so it could be that pulling it through. But also, I think it's an element of the other side. I'll have to check. If somebody wants to... In the Discord, I'll find a way to comment on that one. On the right, 5.2. Phil Foden, not Riyad Mahrez. I am not putting him on my slides. No way. He's not there. It could be Mahrez. I've got my notes, not fucking Mahrez.
Enough said.
I'm still pissed off. That last season, I'm still pissed off about that. Phil Foden, 5.2, City down the right. That is very interesting for me. That's getting into the numbers that's Salah's numbers from last year, Gabe, right? Over 5.
Yep, over 5.
That's what we were seeing last year for Salah when he was at peak, when he was perma captain material. He was in those 5s. Brighton 4.3. Brighton 4.3. Interestingly, Chelsea, Fulham, Southampton 4.1. Even Southampton 4.1 down the right, and that maybe doesn't take into account Pascal Struijk playing at left back. So, yeah, from my side, I think quite interesting. I think longer term, we're still looking at Man City and Liverpool, obviously green. Chelsea down the middle, 19.6 between game week 3 and 6. Who? There was a question.
I don't think I could go for Havertz. No, I don't think that. I think it's all about Mason Mount between 3
I think
you're
right.
18.3.
Right.
Surely he can't be so invisible in a game again. Subbed early. He was making the same runs as last season, but no one was finding him. Like no one was connecting to him, and it just looked like an off game. I think it happened to him last year as well, where he had a few games where he'd go cold. But I think he's the kind of pick that over the long spell you hold, and out of nowhere you get 4 goals against Norwich. So you kind of need to hold it out.
Gavinho, no, I'm not.
the biggest.
I'm a real big Mahrez. I mean, look, to be fair to him, I brought it. If you don't know the story, I'll tell you the story. I brought him in for the last couple of games last season. Obviously, for the double game week, he played about 5 minutes. And then in game week 37, I thought, I'm going to keep him. Fine. It's okay. It's all right, Chris. Don't worry about it. So I keep him. Guess what? He misses a penalty. Thank you very much, Riyad Mahrez. You're an absolute star to me. I hate him even more than Richarlison Troll.
Speaking of stars,
and Callum Wilson, I hate him more than them two.
Speaking of stars and starry skies, we have the second ever Don Juan pick.
stopping Mariners rant in his tracks, right?
I'm looking for likes, not dislikes on the video.
He's trying to inject a little love into the show, man. Come on.
I'm in a really shitty mood today. Actually, I'm not in a great mood. I'm just in. Teacher says, rude, what is it? Rude mariner is a good mariner, or something like that. I saw earlier on.
That's true. That's fair. That's a good comment. So this is obviously from Carlos Castañeda's book, Don Juan, The Teachings of a Yaqui Shaman. And the Don Juan FPL pick of game week 2 is Gabriel Jesus against Leicester. I just see, and the reason it's Gabriel Jesus is because of his work rate and his selflessness. And I think he gets rewarded at home for that kind of work rate. This is the kind of that's why it's a heart pick. There's not really like the stats or whatever. The stats might go with it, but that's the reason. And the quote from the book is, "In a world where death is the hunter, my friend, there is no time for regrets or doubts. There is only time for decisions." And so that's to move on from last week's dud of a pick in Leon Bailey. So we're trying to move on, hopefully have some success with my namesake.
I like this. I like the pick. I like him. I think he's, and again, anyone who moves away from Jesus now is, I think it's a little bit dangerous to say the least. Very good. Very, very good. Very, very good pick this week. Right. Is it time for the captaincy? I think it might be. So should we
play the big debate of the week? Yeah, let's go to the big debate.
Play the jingle, and then you can put the metric up whilst the jingle is playing. So here we go. Let's see if this works. Is it going to work? Oh, hell, it has worked seamlessly. There we go. Now, this is interesting, right? Because I've done something I don't normally do. I've put a player in with not a lot of data, and that is Haaland. And Haaland, well, as you can see, given the fact he's got a 200% haul return, or 100% haul return, I should say, 200% returns, he's got the number 1 fixture difficulty. He's got the #1 points prediction as well on Hub. 56% owned, 74% captaincy on Hub's poll. So EO is going to be huge. I mean, that's 130 based on that number, but it's going to be higher, probably closer to 160, I would say. Maybe, I don't know.
There's going to be a lot of people who forget to move the captain off Salah. I think they're going to be very close.
Yeah. But anyway, let's see. Good zonals. He's just come off 1.83 XG. I think he's got more XG than a number of teams last week. I just don't think, for me, and I mean, you know me about captaincy, I didn't have the faintest thought of not bringing him in. I was intending to bring him in anyway. It was a complete no-brainer. And for me, it's a complete no-brainer. It's a complete no-brainer. He's my captain this week. If the metric didn't, even if I left him off, he'd still be captain this week.
Mm-hmm.
I think the key thing here with all this is if we look at it and we look at the fixture difficulty rankings, right? And remember, this is not just teams. This is attack and defense. So all the fixture difficulties are all stacked up together. So Liverpool attack are above Liverpool defense, for example. Well, Liverpool defense are above attack, I should say, 4 against 5th. There we go. So, yeah, Manchester City attack ranked 1st. Okay, then Manchester defense ranked 3rd. Okay. Arsenal attack was ranked 2nd. There we go. You can see that down there as well. So you can see that which teams, which units are most liked by this fixture difficulty, and fixture difficulty is ranked. It's weighted quite heavily because I always go fixtures over form before I start taking anything else in, just to let you guys know. So there we go with fixture difficulty. Obviously, Haaland haul-wise is very, very high. His matchups with respect to zones are very good. His predictions are very good. That's why he's #1. De Bruyne, same fixture difficulty, of course. Hauls and returns lower, but obviously it's over a bigger period. I think that's a lot closer than it looks. KDB, for me, if I had KDB and didn't have Haaland, I think I'd probably different from you, Nima. I think I'd just run with it, and I'd run with him as captain.
You said if you had him. You said if you had Son earlier.
If. I'm saying if. Bear in mind. I mean,
I know KDB owners who had Kane.
Does anyone own both?
Yeah. The people who had Kane and KDB, many of them sold KDB for Haaland to now try and get a big slice of this City attacking lineup.
That could be a juicy one.
I'd be tasty,
I'd be sat there with my popcorn with that one.
In before the 1-0 Bournemouth victory.
Oh God, no! Don't.
And then everyone mass selling Haaland for Kane to captain Kane in game
like that
3.
West Brom game where I think they ended up drawing 1-1.
Yeah. Double return for Cancelo, Gabe. You mentioned it earlier. I think that's an entirely good shout, and I think the captaincy metric, with him being sitting 3rd there, entirely agrees with you.
And we have some people in the chat as well. Teacher mentioning it. We have Nehal mentioning it. Cancelo as captain. I think he's a good shout for captain.
Yeah. I mean, look, you have to look at it from a point of what type of player are you, right? I actually think we're moving down. We've got Trent, then we've got Robbo, and then we've got Salah. Salah's obviously form at the end of last season wasn't what it was. Yes, he got his returns last week, but he came off, I think it was about a 0.46 XG, against Haaland's 1.83. Yes, there was a penalty in there. But that said, Salah's not a bad pick. He's not a bad captaincy shout this week. I'm not saying he's a bad captaincy shout. I think owning him's enough actually this week. That's where I am. So I think owning Salah is enough. Captaining a Haaland, owning Salah, that works for me perfectly. I'm slightly concerned about this Zaha thing, which you brought up earlier, Gabe, about whether Palace might get one. I'm backing them to keep a clean sheet this week, though, because I think Palace, attacking-wise away from home, are a little bit weaker.
They could. It's Trent's form. Trent doesn't look good as a defender, certainly, and And I think this new role is maybe destabilizing him a little bit. He's still finding his place. But I mean, if they kept a clean sheet, I don't think at home, their home opener, nobody would be surprised. I just think, Zaha's going to exploit him a little.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's entirely possible. So anyway, let's say we've done some. As I say, we didn't do very well last week. We went with Kane. I still maintain he was a good pick. I don't think. I mean, would anyone have thought that Kane would get no returns when Spurs score 4? No.
Not even me, Mariner. Not
even you. No, there we go. So anyway, overall captaincy, Nima's pushing us forward. Overall is overall Haaland. It's a bit of a sword pick this week rather than the shield. So I think KDB is actually if you've got the cojones or whatever they are, cojones. If you've got the cojones to go for him, why not? You'd be brave. You'd be very brave. Differential, it is not Mahrez, even though it should be Mahrez, as you can see, or you could have seen if Nima hadn't moved off the slide. Mahrez is only 5% owned, and so qualifies as the differential pick. Robertson is 12%. I am refusing to put Mahrez on this damn sheet. No way. Again, so it's my metric. I'm putting Robertson on, so that's enough of that. So.
I just thought I'd add, so like someone was asking about Haaland's non-penalty XG.
Was it 1?
So Understat have it at 1.41 and City at 1.83. So that new setup, it's like a 2-3-4-1 in possession.
Yeah.
Both the fullbacks are playing as CMs, as we said in the 2-3-4-1. The entire team looks like it's built to just feed Haaland. Like the entire non-penalty XG came from him.
That's incredible, isn't it? It's just madness, and the bloke's a monster. So yeah, it's, as I say, it could be ridiculous. It could be ridiculous this week, and I just think it's not. I think it's just overthinking if you're not going with him. To be honest with you.
Then we go to questions then. So I've started a few. I've got a couple I'm going to share from the Discord from the YouTube members as well. So anyone who wants to jump into the Discord with us, get access to the metrics earlier, support the channel, and help us keep growing it and cover some costs, because we've been running at a loss for like 2 years now. So definitely would appreciate any support. If you don't want to do that, at least please do smash the like if you found this useful, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. So I'm just going to share my screen quickly to get a couple of questions from the Discord. And then there's also a couple from Twitter. I've started about 8 of them from the live chat. If you've got any final questions in the live chat, please do start getting them in now as we go through some of the answers from Discord. So I'm just going to quickly show you. So like in the data section of the Discord, people can kind of request what data they want to get. Mariner shares a lot of the data, like the FDRs, stuff like the captaincy in advance of the matchup show. But obviously all the data will remain free and be on the episode every week. You got zonals here. It goes quite deep. I've had nightmares about these defensive FDRs he sent. There's almost too much data for me to comprehend there. So, Daddy Bot, tweet me, or I mean DM me if you have Twitter. DM me. Yeah, DM me. I wrote someone a guide on how to do it, but basically you need to download Discord or go to the Discord website on a web browser. And once you create your account, go to user settings, connections, and then log in with the YouTube or Google account that you're a member with.
DM.
Yeah,
just DM
and don't DM Mariner.
We'll give you Mariner's number. You can just call him directly. He'll walk you through.
No, please not. I'm a complete dinosaur with this shit.
The plan is we're also going to do like a weekly voice channel chat as well, where we'll jump in for like an hour with everyone.
If we ever get round to it, but
just chill, yeah. So there's a few things up. So the YouTube questions. So the first one was from FPL Teacher. He was looking at Chelsea's 19.6 central rating on the FDR. Apart from wingbacks, is there anyone who is of interest to you guys? So similarly in the starred comments, I think he also said, is there any love for Kai Havertz? He was central instead of Sterling. So I think for me, it's just Havertz being reclassified as a forward, but playing more of a false 9. It doesn't really appeal to me despite the zonal matchup. I just can't see myself going there. I think the value at 6 million from the wing backs is just too immense. James with a yellow card got 2 bonus. I can't see myself going for Havertz. Not when there's kind of Jesus at the same price. Just not for me. But let's take this one from Nehal.
Well, one thing I will say about
yeah.
Havertz, he was centrally located, but what was his role? Like, what was he doing for the team? I couldn't figure that part out. I would see him running around in these little like pockets when nothing was happening, and the ball would go one way, and you see Havertz kind of like floating off to the side, doing nothing, kind of centrally, but not really doing anything. So that's why it would be a no for me.
Yeah, no, so that's great insight. So Kevin was asking about need help on my wildcard. Now I don't know if he's activated his wildcard FPL Safa over here. If you're watching on VOD, do reply in the general chat on Discord. But I think unless you bench boosted in game week 1 and now you're wildcarding out, oh, you did, okay, that makes a lot more sense. So in that scenario, if you're trying to get out of that bench boost team, we said we're not going to give you like a draft, but I think the thing is the picks are still kind of the same. I would look at the kind of game week 3 to 6 long-term FDR, and you still want to be targeting like kind of City, Liverpool, Arsenal. Those are the 3 main ones. But perhaps once Champions League starts, you want to potentially rotate with some of the assets from teams like Leeds when they've got their better fixture run. There's opportunities to get on West Ham from game week 7. There's assets from other teams available. So I would consider that. But for now, like, drop us in the RMT channel, like what your draft is looking like ahead of deadline, and we'll see what we think. And we won't roast it as bad as some of the people pre-deadline where they got 4 out of 10 and stuff. Yeah, that wasn't very nice. So Nehal's question, the last one from Discord, was he wants to bench one of these 3: Neto, Leon Bailey, or Trippier. He has 2 spots and needs to bench one.
He needs to bench one of them. Crack. I think that Leon Bailey's is worrying me a bit, but I think I'm going to play him. I think I might bench Trippier. I might. I've got a funny feeling that's a 1-1.
So what, away to Brighton?
Yeah,
I think we were expecting them to concede, weren't we?
Yeah.
Neto is the one I would definitely play. I think for me, it's between Bailey and Trippier. And unless you get conclusive news of Bailey being benched, I would probably play him over Trippier. And then the last question from this is actually from Greenback Golfer, our hauler here. So he has a very rotation-friendly squad. He says all pre-European games. Should he bench boost with 13 outfield players at home? So his bench is Havertz at home to Tottenham, Bailey at home to Everton, Trossard at home to Newcastle, Ward away at Arsenal. Personally, I would not be bench boosting here. I would still think there's better value in other single game weeks to come, and potentially also in the doubles that we might find. We are effectively getting free wildcards. So if anything, I would say just use your unlimited transfers going into game week 17 and bench boost then, and pick players that didn't go to the World Cup, because it's not a wild card, and that's the key part here. You can play a chip going into game week 17 because it's just unlimited transfers. It's not a wild card. So that's another very unique strategy you might want to take into this season, is that game week 17 could be quite an exciting week for bench booster. I don't think with 1 week later I'll be going all in, and Havertz against Tottenham, Bailey might not start, Trossard playing wing back, Ward away to Arsenal, just does not do it for me at all. I'm sorry, mate. Does not do it for me. Still go for it if you feel like it, but yeah, it's not for me. And then let's take some of the questions from Twitter, and then there's a few in the live chat from today's show. So the ones from Twitter I'm just putting up as well very quickly. Okay, so I have them here, I think. So we had, on a scale of 99 to 100, how essential is Darwin Núñez from FPL Banger Podcast?
Gabe?
Wait for him to start. Why is he so impatient? Chill. Just fucking chill, man. Jeez.
So on a scale of 99 to 100, it's 99 then?
It's 99.
99. So I think we'll power through these rapid fire.
Yeah,
So Vardy boys, would you sell Kane if you also have Haaland? So this is his team with 0.5 million in the bank. I would keep Kane to captain him in game week 3 probably.
Yeah.
Like you've already got him. Like you've got the blank out the way. You got to hope that he's probably going to get a brace against Chelsea knowing him. So I wouldn't be looking to rush to sell him, and not for Núñez, who's not started yet.
I agree.
Still captain Salah game week 3.
Definitely.
Against United. What to do with Perisic? So I think you started the season knowing he probably wasn't going to start. This wouldn't be the time to sell him for me yet.
It's more like every week that goes is more likely, right? So just...
He was building fitness, right? The idea was they were prepping him to play. Maybe Sessegnon has a different idea about that, and the competition has made him want to maintain that spot in the 11. But I think Big Man Bakar had said that he recommended kind of benching Perisic, seeing whether he starts, and then if he doesn't start, selling him in game week 3. But potentially, if he does start, then you've got him ready for game week 3 with a spell of good games to come.
I would say if he doesn't start, he could start game week 3. So if you're gonna keep him for the 2 game weeks that you knew he was going to be he was going to be benched because of the injury, and you're going to sell him the game week that he's going to come in.
So he's not injured, I don't think necessarily. He's just unfit.
He's recovering from injury. Yeah. So that's injured for me. In my, it's semantics, but
with your
still,
coaching mind. Yeah. I don't know. I think this game is the game that they rested him last game for. So I would expect him to start because I think they wanted him for this Chelsea away game. But I guess we'll find out in a few days. Luke Croft says, why is nobody talking about Grealish as an FPL option? So I think it's just the fact that he didn't really do much. Just like Foden took no shots. I don't think any of the City mids looked that appealing to me. At 7 mils, like potentially an interesting option, but I'd rather be looking at Gundo right now and maintaining him on my watch list personally. Also, Foden could just move back to left wing if Grealish thinks out the place and Mahrez could start right wing. So, yeah, at least Foden out of the pair of them can play both wings. Grealish false 9 experiment failed. Haaland's here. I'm not too hot on Grealish. Mount, what to do with him? So I have him. I'm not going to move to Foden, Gundo, Grealish. I'll keep him.
On Grealish really quickly, I think if we're talking about that Haaland is going to get all of the attention and everything's going to funnel through Haaland. Grealish is not much of a creator. He'll dribble, he'll take people on, and despite his assist to Haaland in the preseason, that's not really his game. So I think he plays an important role for the team, but I don't know that it'll translate into fantasy points.
Yeah, no, good point. There is the theory of the second season under Pep being better, and obviously him improving his 3 goals and 3 assists and the 100 million price tag, but I don't think Pep really cares about price tags, and if it doesn't fit his best team, he will drop him eventually. This last one from FPL DG Boy 88, who's been here live as well supporting. So thanks for tuning in. So he's got a couple of options. He's looking at Son and Archer to Gundo and Darwin for -4, and then moving to a 4-3-3. His preferred move, quite aggressive, -4. Son just to Gundo and play 4-4-2, or hold, boring. If he does hold, he will do so I think if he brings in Gundo in game week 2, he'll then sell him anyway to Kulu or Son for that captaincy. So it's a tough one. I don't think, it just seems a bit wild for me to take a -4, sell Son to Gundo, then sell Gundo next week, another bank transfer back to a Spurs player again, and then to get in Darwin against Palace, who we say is a bit more defensively sound. So it seems exciting, but I think it's there are times to be aggressive in the season. I'm not convinced this week is it with 1 week of data personally, mate. But I don't mind. I would go for hold because I'd go for boring. If you had to do one, I think I'd just do Son to Gundo. If you absolutely must and you're happy to captain Salah in game week 3, I wouldn't kind of be doing a hokey cokey at this stage. Son could easily score against Chelsea, and you could end up with cake on your face. So yeah, that's all the ones from Twitter. I've got a few starred here from the live chat.
Yeah. Should we do these rapid fire?
Yeah, so these are one of us can answer them instead of all of us, and we should go through. This one we answered before, I think. So This was just about, despite the bigger field, should I start Pereira? I think most of us said no, unless we heard that Bailey was benched. Kai Havertz, we've answered. This was just interesting. Someone was saying, why is Wolves so bad and their FDR so red eventually? I think they're okay up until game week 6. You might need an exit plan then, but we do need to see what the new signing of Guedes does for Neto's positioning. So this one specifically aimed at you, Gabe, from Nehal. Any thoughts on how that might change Neto's positioning? From what I understand, they play the same position, so it's not exactly reassuring.
Well, I'd like to see what Laj plans on doing with Guedes, or if he plans on moving Neto because he's better than Podence. I'm not sure. I just have to see what Laj would do with him. I mean, Guedes could be in central midfield. They could move to a 3-5-2 instead of they're at a back 4 right now. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what he intends yet.
Fair enough. Yes, we got it so much. Jones bloke. I like to find these maverick claims. Forest are going to cause an upset because West Ham have defensive issues. So I just put this on the screen so I can screenshot it next week in case it happens, and we can call him to see in the future. I love this comment from Gavinho about Garnacho of United and getting some game time at left wing. I think he is a baller. he might have upset a few people of his country by repping Ronaldo instead of Messi, but let's see what happens there. Akshay mentioned the NetxG delta between Bournemouth and City is probably a record. It probably is in terms of how positive it was for City and how negative it was for Bournemouth.
I think it broke when we got to Liverpool and Everton. Perhaps that might have been interesting last year at the end of last season. Yeah. That was one which was a bit high, wasn't it? Certainly on my metrics.
So we've got Kodak Zenzi, Captain KDB if I already have Haaland. So
well, it depends what type of manager you are.
Yeah, I don't think for me, not after we've said like he had like a non-penalty XG of like 1.3 or 4 and like the whole of City had 1.8. Like the entire system in possession seems to be built around providing for him. And we didn't know he had penalties originally. Like Mahrez had said in an interview that I'm still on them. And then when Pep got asked, he was like, he will punch you in the face if you try to take the penalty from him. So that sounds pretty reassuring to me that Haaland's taking the fucking penalties. He was literally like, I would not be the one trying to take the ball from him. He will break your nose.
I love that. Punch him in the face if you would.
Yeah. So when I heard that, I was like, that is all I need to hear. City get a fair few amount of penalties as well.
Right up my street. That is.
Is it worth changing Kane to Haaland, even though I will lose 0.2? I do not need to take hits. So I'm assuming they have money in the bank. So I think, you've done the right thing. You started the season with money in the bank, so you could wait to see what happens midweek and wait for pressers. I would still be going down that route personally. Haaland in for Archer -4 and sell Son as well. I'm guessing it would be like Son to Gundo or something like some of the other people will then captain him. I would take a -4 for Haaland. I don't think I go to a -8 this week, but I feel like until Champions League starts, like he just seems like the first time in years we've had a legitimate every week captaincy option versus Salah. So I want a piece of that.
And I think, look, I had a plan to move to Haaland. I had the plan to do it. But if you didn't decide to start with Haaland, suck it up and just move. You don't wait, right? Do not wait. This is very rarely you have something so clear cut in FPL. Just move.
Like his numbers in the Shield as well, right? In the Community Shield, like obviously he didn't score, but the kind of the XG he pulled up against, Liverpool, that was phenomenal. So I think for me, I'm always the kind of guy who likes to see like someone who gets high XG, even if they don't convert it, because it's like at least they're getting the chances. Is what I was saying about Jesus. Like they say he underperforms his XG, but like not many players can rack up an XG like that. He's just always there.
And the good thing, remember, when someone's underperforming, they're either shit or unlucky.
Well, the good thing with Haaland is he overperforms his XG.
Not the shit side. So
he typically overperforms his XG in his career. So, with a team like City supplying to him, I am all over that. Just on the Bailey, even if you think he's benched, maybe you should still start him anyway over Andreas because he came off the bench, got a goal and assist versus Everton, regardless. So I think, so we're going to wrap it up.
I think Andreas would be starting if Fulham were at home.
Yeah, if they were at home, the away versus home is what does it for me. Daddy Bots in the Discord. Make sure you go to the Introduce Yourself channel, mate. Look forward to chatting to you more often. And anyone who is a member and is struggling to get in, I think there's about 10 of the members on YouTube haven't figured out how to get into Discord. Please do tweet me. And don't worry, guys. I think someone was saying, why is there only 27 likes? So it's actually because the likes don't update while you're watching live. So when you leave the stream and come back, there's actually like 44, 45 likes. So we're almost at the 50. If I'd said if we got to 50 while live, I would do Ali G. It's too late now. If we get to, I'll say if we get to 70 likes before next game week's episode, which will probably be next Thursday, on next week's episode, I will wear Ali G from the start.
You're under-egging it. 100 likes.
Yeah, to be fair, the thing is, most likes come in live. Maybe at 2,500 subs, I'll wear the Borat Mankini. So get us to the 2,500 subs. I don't know if you want to see that or not, but it'll be an interesting episode.
Subs go down.
I'll take this final question from Daddy Bot, by the way. Let's say this final question from Daddy Bot, one of the haulers. So Bailey or Andreas or Romero. So yeah, I think on this note, it'll be Bailey for me. Romero away, like that's not for me. But yeah, let's take that. So thanks everyone for tuning in. We were Net That Haul, joined by FPL Mariner, FPL Lens, and I'm, of course, FPL Nima. Been a pleasure to see everyone. Good luck in Game Week 2. And let us know how your Game Weeks get on Twitter over the weekend. But enjoy the end of the week, everyone.
Maybe next week it's going to be Nima ranting.
Yeah. It depends what I do. I might take a drunk -4 tomorrow, but no, I'm joking. See you guys next week.